Caribbean news.
This is kind of a part two, kind of a little update in terms of the bombing in the Caribbean that I reported on last week. So shout out to friend of the show, Dave DeCamp from Anti-War News. Antiwar.com, sorry. He reported on this story the other day. So we wanted to give a little bit more of an update. And as I said last week, I am not as knowledgeable on this story as I probably should. But we're hoping to get DJ Joe Nice, who has been watching this a little closely. And he's been to Trinidad recently. So we're hoping to get him on to talk more about what's going on down in Trinidad and like what's happening in Venezuela and our involvement down there. But Dave reported from antiwar.com, U.S. Marines conducting drills in Trinidad and Tobago, just miles from Venezuela's coast. Maduro has criticized the U.S. drills in the Caribbean island nation. So Dave reports U.S. Marines. Oh, did it move? There we go. U.S. Marines began drills on Sunday in Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean island nation that's just miles off the coast of Venezuela, as the U.S. military continues its activity in the region amid a push towards a potential U.S. attack aimed at ousting Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The U.S. Embassy in Trinidad and Tobago said the U.S. Marine Corps 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit will be deployed to the Caribbean nation from November 16th to November 21st and will participate in exercises with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. According to Task and Purpose, the deployment came after the Trinidadian Attorney General said the U.S. military would intensify its exercises in the country. The 22nd MEU has been in the Caribbean since it was deployed to the region with the Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group in August. Maduro has criticized the increasing U.S. drills in Trinidad and Tobago, calling them irresponsible and warning them against the U.S. push towards war. The people of Trinidad and Tobago will see if they continue allowing their waters and land to be used to greatly threaten the peace of the Caribbean, he said over the weekend. A U.S. aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, just arrived in the Caribbean, and according to the Washington Post, its fighter jet pilots have been studying Venezuela's air defenses as the Trump administration is considering bombing the country. Trump suggested on Sunday that his administration was in talks with the Maduro government. The U.S. has continued its bombing campaign against alleged drug-running boats in the region, which has received criticism from U.S. allies all over its clearly illegality under both U.S. and international law. But Trinidadian Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissara has strongly supported the campaign despite fears among her country's fishing community.
Which is awful.
Right. So to answer your question, Jacqueline, yes, in a matter of speaking, yes, they've gotten permission with Trinidad's complicity in this. They are allowing this to happen. Bodies of people believed to be killed in U.S. strikes have washed up in Trinidad and Tobago, and fishermen in the country have said the U.S. bombing campaign has them fearing for their lives and jobs. So, yeah. So again, kind of a continuation from last week. We know Dave writes very short articles. But yes, in a matter of speaking, Trinidad is being complicit in it in the guise of protection, when it's really just a means of their complicity in terms of, I think, well, I'll say this, Venezuela is known for their oil. We want their oil, so we're trying to stage a coup, military, or rather, regime change in Venezuela in order to access their resources. Trinidad is basically caught in the middle of it, and I guess their thinking is, or at least Prime Minister's thinking is, be nice to Trump and do whatever he wants. Otherwise, they'll go after Trinidad as well. And given its proximity to Venezuela, they don't want to get caught in the process necessarily in regards to this attempted regime change that is occurring in the country and in the region right now. So that's why we're having all these bombings, and we're saying, oh, it's drug cartels, when it's actually like no, we just want your oil because we're greedy like that.
I sent you this from Camila Escalante over at Casachun News. And, people in the Caribbean and Latin America are raising their collective voice to oppose the ongoing U.S. terror strikes and extrajudicial killings in the Caribbean Sea and in the Pacific. So she's been doing great work. I don't know this exact. She's at like this convention thing, I think, of like Latin American stuff. It might be I saw her in Colombia and stuff. I don't know. She's been putting together a lot. So go check out Camilla's Twitter. I think it's at Camilla Press.
Is this a video clip?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay.
I'm here at the CELAC Social, representing Puerto Rico. Here we're going to be discussing the zone of peace, which is very important
in
that Puerto
Colombia,
Rico is
in Santa
represented in
Marta.
the zone of peace. As long as Puerto Rico remains a colony of the United States, we will always be used as a U.S. Military base to be able to invade other countries, as we're seeing right now with Venezuela. Over 15,000 troops are stationed in Puerto Rico across the islands with various ships and warplanes that are getting ready to attack, as we're already seeing happen in the Caribbean.
We're at this third summit that began in Argentina, followed by Honduras, continues honorably in Colombia to continue to ensure sovereignty and peace. Peace within, but with above all unification. For starters, Colombia and Venezuela are one and the same. But looks like they're pulling together, which is nice. Those 70 people were killed without due process, which are extrajudicial executions. It need to be called what it is. Summary executions. Because they are normalizing extermination. They want to normalize genocide the way they did in Gaza, and now they intend to do it on the Caribbean coast. In other words, it's not just a threat, it's an escalation that we must stop with all our might.
Standing in solidarity with Venezuela is standing in solidarity with the people of this region and indeed the people of the world. We have a criminal government in the form of the United States of America that's responsible for 95% of all of the criminality on this planet. It could be Venezuela today and your nation tomorrow.
We do not want to build a continent on the basis of death and war. Our America is a continent from which we have come to defend the sovereignty, independence, and right to self-determination of our peoples. We hope that this summit, which brings together more than 1,200 national and international delegates, can raise its voice to reject the presence and the presence of the country that's been the greatest promoter of wars globally, as the United States has been. We face an imminent threat posed by the U.S. with its fleet in the Caribbean. Posed by the U.S. We know that they're coming for our resources. The former head of U.S. Southern Command, Laura Richardson, said as much a few years ago when she said they were coming for lithium, the oil, and the water reserves in South America. And confession is proof, as we lawyers say. Why? They already confessed for why they're coming today. What we must do is prioritize unity.
To live in peace. The people of this region want to live in peace. We don't want to see people being arbitrarily subjected to the whims of a government that decides it has the right of life and death.
We need to be sure that we have solidarity amongst all of our people across the region to be able to fight what is the biggest threat to humanity today, which is U.S. imperialism and U.S. militarization.
Hoy estamos
Today we stand with Venezuela, with Nicaragua, with Cuba, with Colombia, and with Mexico. We support unity of the Patria Grande. Latin America and the Caribbean is and will remain a zone of peace. And of course, we reject the entire Monroe Doctrine and the entire doctrine of domination on our continent. Out with militarism of Latin America. But, yeah. So, thoughts?
Well, again, we talked about this last week. Well, I read about this last week in terms of CARICOM is asking for Latin America to unify in terms of this threat. Most of the CARICOM islands are in support of it, with the exception of Trinidad.
Yeah, and that was
for obvious reasons right now.
The People's Social Summit of Latin America and the Caribbean, just for those who want to know.
So, So, and then I think there some. I think it was Argentina, obviously. Who, and then I think another one, I forgot which one right now. They are not necessarily in support of this unification against the U.S.
Right.
But it's calling it out for what it is. It's the idea of exploitation of resources in Venezuela and attempting to perform a coup in order to have regime change.
Yep.
I would argue within now in America. Like I think Venezuela is just an entry point to which the U.S. is able to try to overtake their government and their resources.
And they're right. This is all resource management, and it feels like all the places with real resources don't have a lot of allies right now,
Right.
Like, it doesn't feel like China and Russia are helping very much, especially in Africa and South America, especially in Palestine, with what we learned recently this week. So, it seems like the global powers have their own resources they're trying to manage, So, which clouds their judgment to the long-term thinking. But, you heard him mention the Monroe Doctrine. That's, part of this as well, which we've talked about. So, I don't know. We're definitely keeping an eye on this because you should,
Yeah.
But
but as I said, hopefully we can get DJ Joe Nice before the end of the year to talk a little bit more about this, at least from the Trinidadian perspective. And being that I know he's been there a few times over the past year, just being able to kind of
reach out to Camilla too.
Sure.
So, but gotta remind me to do that.
But so we'll definitely continue to update, and we'll definitely hopefully get some, I wouldn't say experts, but people are more knowledgeable than us in terms of what's happening down there, and just for us to kind of think about. I think it's definitely easy to kind of be isolating right now in terms of what we're going through in this country right now. But as we keep saying, foreign policy is domestic policy. So we want to be aware of what's happening with our brothers and sisters globally, so we can be in solidarity, or at least make the attempt to be in solidarity with them when necessary. But talking about stories like this, and shout out again to DeCamp for his reporting, is why we are demonetized, and YouTube it has demonetized us because we talk about stories that are not favorable to their AdSense. So the way we're able to get support, or at least financially, through our work, or at least our reporting commentary, is through you, and we are very appreciative of that. So if you want to support us financially, you can scan the QR code you see on the screen, or go to the Ko-fi link you see at the bottom of your screen. And if you're in the YouTube chat and you're live, you can type in !donate all one word in order to access the Ko-fi link in case you forgot. And you can click it, and then you can give as little as much as you want. Any bit helps. It really does. You can also give through Substack, PayPal, and Cash App. Links are in the description below. And as always, we don't expect people to give because we know times are hard. If you want to support us the free way, you can like, subscribe, and share our content to help us fight the suppression in YouTube, and make sure you leave a comment. If I'll just ask this, if there's anyone that you believe that we should talk to besides Camilla and Joe in terms of what's happening in the region, Caribbean and Latin America right now, let us know in the comments. We will try and get them on the show and help us get to 3K. I think we're around 350 shy. So maybe possibly by the end of the year, we're able to get that.
Yeah.
Maybe as a nice Christmas present.
Would
Maybe.
be nice. So share this around. Convince your friends to subscribe. So
or at least share this clip so that people can learn.
Yeah, exactly.
A little something.
Exactly. You'll know what to do.
And thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.